Welcome back to the Game News Show, the weekly, sometimes show where I talk about game news. It's been a while since we've done an episode. Whatever, we're doing one now. Thanks for checking out the video. Happy 4th of July. It is actually July 5th by the time this is posted to YouTube, but if you're watching live with me on Twitch, hey. Let's get into some news stories. I have a few, none of them are major groundbreaking things, but stuff that I want to talk about regardless. First up, I thought this was interesting. Call of Duty's latest anti-cheat measure, hallucinations of imaginary players. This is on Polygon. What I thought was really neat, the long and short version of this is, in an effort to catch cheaters, but learn how they're detecting, like how the software works. When they think they've detected a cheater, they clone an existing player near the cheater, and the cheat software that like auto locks to players picks up the fake player, and it's only detectable to the cheat software. Like other players don't see this clone on the map, and it's really clever. I think it's really cool. And what it amounts to is I pressed the button. Anyway, what it amounts to is cheaters are kind of like ratting themselves out here. You know, it's very interesting, and I think it'll work long term, but I wonder if there's a way for the cheat software to like get around this, because if the game is like, oh, this person's like really accurate and shooting people through objects they shouldn't be shooting them through, you know, obviously they would be cheating, you know. So I wonder how the cheat makers are going to get around this. Honestly, if you're cheating in an online game, it's sad. And you should find something better to do with your life. But good on, was it Team Ricochet? I think is the anti-cheat team. Good on Team Ricochet for coming up with a clever solution to like not only catch and ban cheaters, but to learn how they work. Right? It's kind of neat. All right, moving on to the next story. An Overwatch animated series is streaming this July. I think it's pretty neat. Overwatch was originally meant to be like a movie that Blizzard did, and then it turned slowly over time into what we have now. I haven't been a big fan of Overwatch 2 lately, but narrative stuff, this might be interesting. Let's look at the article really quick. An Overwatch miniseries is heading to YouTube. First episode, called Genesis Part 1 Dawn, be released July 6th. And Blizzard put up a trailer Friday showing off some of the characters we'll meet. Looks like this particular episode will focus on the original Omnic Crisis, and we see Reaper, Reinhardt, and Ana fighting through the war that threatened humanity. This is pretty cool. I won't read the rest of the article, but we could watch the trailer together. I think that would be fun. Let me make sure that my audio is routed correctly, just in case it comes out of the wrong thing. Wait, there's not a trailer? I thought there was a trailer. This not the trailer? Let's see. Ah, there's the trailer. Okay. I hope it actually plays through the stream.
Overwatch on site. Taking heavy fire. Sky, confirm target. You've been spotted. You've been spotted. Get out of here, Sky. Get out of here.
Life before the war was extraordinary. We were no longer defined by our mistakes.
The animation's pretty sweet. Whoops. It paused the wrong thing.
The AIs were saving us from them. But we had no idea. It was all about to change.
Interesting.
Through freedom, you can find your own path.
Interesting. I wonder if this will lead to like a new character being revealed. Animation looks pretty solid though. That's kind of cool. All right, moving on. This is a list of articles. Oh, okay. This was interesting. F-Zero no longer relevant because of Mario Kart, says former dev. This is courtesy of IGN. A former F-Zero developer believes Nintendo's long-dormant racing franchise has remained that way due to the success of Mario Kart. F-Zero artist and designer behind Captain Falcon, Takaya Imamura, implied the game wouldn't be worth the risk when Mario Kart is already incredibly successful, having sold nearly 50 million copies for Switch as of November. I would agree, except that the fast racing, sci-fi racing genre is pretty popular in and of itself. And for Nintendo, I mean, obviously they don't want to have too many similar type games on the market. So why have Mario Kart and F-Zero? Back in the Super Nintendo days, those games are very different. And I still maintain that they are different. But I think with gaming being so ubiquitous now and so like just not just for the nerds, your mass market would look at the difference in Mario Kart and F-Zero and go, well, they're both racing games. So I kind of see where he's coming from. And Mario Kart having Mario in it would automatically be more fun. That's not to say I don't think they shouldn't take the risk of putting another F-Zero out, because it would be a lot of fun. There's been a long rumored F-Zero GX port, which is probably the best F-Zero has ever been or will ever be. If they would just port, there's a rumor of that being ported to the Switch. If they just did that, that would be fantastic. But interesting nonetheless. Speaking of devs, former Banjo-Kazooie dev doesn't think another game is coming. Man, these devs are so pessimistic these days. Former Banjo-Kazooie developer has said that another game in the series is unlikely because there probably aren't enough people who want to play it. Interesting. Speaking to VGC, Banjo-Kazooie composer Grant Kirkhope gave the impression he thinks the game is part of a bygone era, both in terms of development and team player base. I feel like you'd have to get a team with the humor we had back then, and that's hard to replicate, he said. I think Rare would be open to somebody if they found the right team, but I don't feel like that team exists. Also, I'm not convinced the audience is there either. So, kind of along the same lines, people like platformers. There's, what is that game we watched in the Nintendo Direct with the chick with the yo-yo? It was made by the people that made Sonic Mania. It looked fantastic. So many people, like, the reception to that trailer and that reveal was very positive. People were excited for it. So, hear me out. I think a Banjo 3 would be possible. I think the Playtonic team, Yooka-Laylee devs, would be a good fit, but Yooka-Laylee is already so much like Banjo-Kazooie that it would almost be better to put them on a remake of the first two games, combine those two games together, and then maybe work on a third one. But the remake would have to exist first to draw people in. Like that wouldn't work on just, you couldn't just put out the new one. Like you could, because the first two games are already on like backwards compatible and Nintendo Switch Online. You'd almost have to do a Switch version as well. I think if they went the full remake route and made a combined Banjo 1 and 2 game, maybe even include the one that was on the GBA in there, that might be interesting as well. Yeah, so I don't know. I think people are hungry for 3D platformers. I mean, people were kind of disappointed with Super Mario Wonder, but then were wanting instead a like full 3D Mario game. So it is what it is. Okay, not gaming related, but sort of. Instagram Meta has announced on July 6th that a competitor to Twitter, why did I say competitor weird? Anyway, an alternative to Twitter, let's say Meta's version of Twitter called Threads, launches on July 6th. I'm actually really excited for this. Basically, you pull your existing following from Instagram into Threads. Your Instagram handle is your name in Threads. And then you have a Twitter-like experience. You can share media, links, discussion, short form posts, but you don't have to start from scratch. So as opposed to going to like Mastodon or these other Twitter-like apps, this one, you have your audience there. And I'm actually very, very looking forward to this. I think the channel thing that Twitter rolled out recently, I'm in a few channels for people that I actually care about what they post, are a one-way communication. I think those would fit really well into Threads. So I think those can work together. It'll be interesting to see. Mostly I put this here because I want to know what other people think if they would jump into Threads. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, next story. Sony expected to release a PlayStation 5 Slim later this year, priced at $399.99, according to Microsoft. So this article, I'm not going to dive into it because the gist of it is, with the FTC court thing over this last week, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of things revealed about the business behind Xbox and the way things work. We also learned, and I'll get into this on the next story, that our Federal Trade Commission doesn't understand the gaming space and how the business actually works, and it's very disappointing to learn that. But there's a silver lining here. That's the next story. Let's talk about the PlayStation. Okay, so Microsoft in all of this says that there is likely to be a PS5 Slim to launch at the end of the year, priced at $399.99. Now, I bring this up because I myself would like a PS5, but could hold out if this launches at the end of the year. And the reason I would hold out is because I don't really like the way the current PS5 looks, and I would consider getting the all-digital version with the Blu-ray optional drive. Does that make sense to me? For a cheaper price, because then I could just go ahead and jump in with what it is now and then add the Blu-ray drive later, if it does release that way. If not, I'm not worried about it. I'll just get a disc system. We'll see, though. I mean, has anyone talked about any fabricators spinning up to produce more silicon for Sony? Like, I don't know. Usually you hear about that at least 6 months to a year before an actual product launch. So I haven't heard anything here. I haven't seen any discussion on it, but interesting nonetheless. I figured a Slim was coming out. That's usually my PlayStation buy time, is when the remodel comes out. It's been that way for me since the PS3. I waited, got a Slim PS3, the first Slim, not the Super Slim or the slidey stupid thing. No, I got the Slim model just because it had a bigger hard drive. Now, with the PS4, I picked up a Pro, which, while it wasn't Slim, it was a redesign, and the Pro was a better buy of the PS4. Now with the PS5, looking to do the same. Even if they don't change the internals, it is just a smaller PS5. I'm going to do it. It's optimized, like, in that regard. So I'm all about it. We'll see what happens, though. It'd be cool. Okay, Activision, or Xbox's big Activision Blizzard FTC trial, which you need to know in our coverage so far. All right, I'm not going to get too far into this, but I did mention in the last story that it's all finished. It's now down to the judge making a decision on what to do. Now, I don't know if the judge's positive or negative remarks mean that the deal can go through, but hopefully Microsoft argued their case well enough that the judge understands that it is probably best for Activision to no longer be in charge of their own company and for Microsoft to manage these properties and smaller companies within. In any case, a lot of the arguments were around Call of Duty being exclusive. Some of the FTC lawyers said stupid things, or not lawyers, I don't even know now. But there were stupid things said like, well, what if you own Call of Duty and you make skins only available for Xbox and no one else? And literally everyone watching this and seeing like the live tweets around it, they all had the same response. PlayStation's been doing this for years. There is DLC that was slated to launch for Destiny 1 on Xbox that took so long to come out, it just got canceled. And Xbox players never got to play that DLC. So that argument is completely out of the window, especially now that Sony owns Bungie and could literally do the same thing all over again. Like, that argument really just, it makes me lose hope for our unelected officials, our appointed officials in our government, because they don't understand this and they're making decisions on it. One of their arguments was that cloud gaming would be no longer competitive, and there's literally tons of cloud gaming providers, namely Microsoft, Amazon, and Nvidia are like the biggest players in this space. So again, very weird. I don't know when the judge's decision is going to come out. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But please, if you go read any of this, it will trigger you. But keep up to date on what the judge says. I know I'll talk about it as soon as it comes out. Oh, sorry. I was very parched, apparently. I'm going to have to go refill that after this. Okay. I thought this was interesting. Speaking of Xbox. Xbox is set to attend the biggest ever Tokyo Game Show. While E3 dies, TGS lives on, which is awesome because I always like the stuff that I'm slightly interested in that always gets announced at TGS. Xbox being there is super important because they've been working more with Sega, Atlas, I believe Konami in some kind of way. Like, there's just... Microsoft is really pushing into the Japanese gaming space, or at least trying to be there, which is more for what they have been in the past. But it's very cool. I'm very excited to see this. I'm wondering what's going to be shown. I would love to see some Square Enix stuff coming to Xbox. Please. Final Fantasy 16 at some point. Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 2, whatever it's called. Just something. All right. And this is the same article as before, just from The Verge. So, that does it for this week's game news. Thanks for checking it out. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video. We're on our way to 500 YouTube subscribers, so we can enter into monetization. We need to get these watch hours up, so check out other episodes of Game News Show. Check out the Let's Plays on the channel. Go watch the shorts I posted. I know those views don't count, but they're still helpful and they're still entertaining, if I do say so myself. Thanks for watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, we're about to play Zelda after I take a quick break. And that'll do it for this week's Game News. See ya!